our virtual meeting of the MAG Management Committee, and we now call the meeting to order. All meeting attendees, please reminder to stay muted so that we can hear everybody well. So if you need to speak, you can unmute, but otherwise, please remain muted when need be. First item of agenda here is to approval of our minutes from the Transportation Safety Committee teleconference held via Zoom on September 22nd.
Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt you for a second, we still need to do a roll call for quorum.
Oh, I apologize that.
No problem. I'm going to go ahead and call the names. If you could please unmute yourself and let us know if you are present. Carrie Wilcoxon. Shane Kiso.
I'm here.
Thank you. Tom Peterson.
Tom Peterson. Here.
Thank you. John Willett.
Present.
Raymond from Chandler. Nick Russo.
I'm here.
Aaron Pinkerton.
President, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Tony Abbo. Hugh Biak. I believe there's a proxy for Hugh.
Yes, Matthew Reeg. I'm sitting in for Hugh today.
Thank you very much. Woody Scouten. Josh Plum. Mazen Muradovich for Nicholas Swart.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Ryan Hudson. Brandon Forey.
Present.
Thank you. Carl Langford.
I'm here.
Jason Botchin.
Here.
Thank you, Jason. Mohammed Yusuf.
I'm here.
Thank you. Sam Taylor.
Here.
Dana Ossiani.
I am here.
Thank you. Kathy Hollow.
Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning. Adrian Ruiz. Jeff King.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, Jeff. And Alberto Gutier. Okay, Mr. Chair, we can move on to item number 2.
Chris Sauls from the town of Florence is in attendance as well.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Just to be clear, the call was for quorum of committee members. Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Margaret. I apologize, I jumped ahead there.
It's okay.
Our next item now is the approval of the minutes from last meeting, which was held via Zoom on September 22nd of 2020. We all received that via email previous to this meeting. Does any members of the Transportation Committee have any comments or revisions to those meeting minutes? If so, please unmute and let us know. Seeing none, could I have a motion to recommend approval of the September 22nd meeting minutes?
Motion to approve, Gilbert.
Thank you, Aaron. Do we have a second?
Second, Shane with Apache Junction.
Thank you, Shane. We now need to have a call for a vote on the motion. Ms. Ferrer, could you please take roll call for the vote?
Yes, Shane Kiso, how do you vote? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Tom Peterson? John Willett,
Yay.
Nick Russo,
Yay.
Aaron Pinkerton,
Yay.
Matthew Ree,
Yay.
Maza Muradovic,
Yay.
Brandon Forey,
Yay.
Carl Langford,
Yay.
Jason Botchin,
Yay.
Mohammed Youssef,
Yay.
Sam Taylor,
Yay.
Dana Ossiani,
Yay.
Kathy Hollow,
Yay.
Jeff King. So have I not called on anybody that maybe have joined since we started the approval of the minutes? Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. So seeing all of those that are in favor, the motion does pass. So our next item of agenda, number 3, is call to audience. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the meeting itself. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. Margaret, have we received any public comments?
Mr. Chair, we have received no comments for this or any other item.
All right, thank you very much. So seeing as we have no comments, we will move on to agenda item number 4. This item is the program manager's report. So the MAG Transportation Safety Program Manager will provide us with a report. So at this time, Margaret, can you please go on to your report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Safety Committee. So as most of you who have been on the committee for quite some time now know that MAG and ASU have been exploring how to enhance regional safe routes to school programs for a more sustainable program administration and to expand resources available to the community. In fact, enhancing MAG Safe Routes to School program was anticipated as a main work task for the new position filled earlier this year by Chris Gottsacker. So at this time, I would like to invite Dr. Ross and from ASU and Chris to introduce this report item.
Thank you, Margaret. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Ali Ross. I'm an assistant professor in the College of Health Solutions at ASU. And for the past several years, we've been working to try to support safe routes programming. And our efforts have largely been based on program evaluation, but recently we've come to realize that program evaluation is meaningless without strong programming. So Margaret and our team have developed really comprehensive, robust studies, and these result in a great report with recommendations and suggestions for schools and for communities, but we don't always see schools actually engaging in programming after participating in these studies. So to better understand why, we began talking with some community members, folks running programs at schools, folks running safe routes to school programs throughout the country. And also we looked to the literature and found that there are really two sort of main barriers to programming. One is lack of resources or information on how to actually start and engage and sustain programming. And the other is lack of community engagement, parent engagement. And these two barriers seem to be particularly profound among communities with lower socioeconomic status and communities with racial and ethnic minority populations. And so in response, we're proposing to prepare, develop, and implement a dashboard of active transportation to school. We're calling it the DATS, to provide stakeholders with resources to start and sustain programming. Stakeholders would have access to environmental and behavioral data around their school sites to better inform the programs that would be most impactful and meaningful at their schools, and then have access to a toolkit with resources on how to actually engage and sustain in programming. And this is a multi-phase project. We're in the initial phase 1, which largely relies on information gathering and the development of an interface. We want to engage community members, parents, and students in communities to better understand what challenges they're facing and what resources they would like to see to better overcome these safety challenges, to increase the safety and the prevalence of walking and biking to school. Next, we aim to test the feasibility, so roll out the DATs at a handful of select schools to see whether it's useful, whether it's burdensome, whether people are liking this tool. And ultimately, we'd like to have this tool for use among all of our communities widespread. I think, Chris, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ross. So here, I won't read all this text, but we basically are showing the process and hierarchy of the steps in that process of going from safe routes to school studies to solution implementation. And basically, we want to smooth out this hierarchy to improve outcomes and hopefully increase future support activity applications. We're hoping to take identified areas from the studies and dig a bit deeper into the available data and to identify even more possible solutions, plan the implementation of the solutions, and then carefully following a plan to implement those solutions. And managing them beyond that initial step. So how do we ensure the longevity and sustainability of the safe routes to school solutions that we come up with in the studies? Next slide, Margaret. So here we have a conceptual mock-up that Dr. Ross and her team came up with for the dashboard. This is very high level. Initially, the tool will likely only have a couple of key functions based on the funding that's going to be available from the grants, but this kind of provides a framework to add more functions later. And then we also show a tool by the Minnesota DOT illustrating their safe routes to school and related projects. And then the Institute for Transportation Development and Policy has developed their Pedestrian's First tool, which is a pretty cool tool. It's more on a global scale, but they have some frameworks to measure walkability at more local scales as well. And we're basically just showing these to illustrate that this isn't a long shot. This is something that has been done in similar ways before in other areas. And I'll give it back to Dr. Ross then for the next slide.
Thank you. So in conclusion, this is a multi-phase, multi-year project that we're looking to get externally funded, but it's going to rely heavily on partnerships, and we have really strong interest at all of the levels that you see here on the screen. And so we're sharing this idea with you all, asking for your support, and also to let us know if you know of any community members that maybe might have a strong interest in promoting the safety and the prevalence of walking and biking and other active school travel. Margaret, that's all I have. I'll turn it over back to you.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you, Chris. Mr. Chair, one of the things that we discussed as we were preparing this presentation and really the whole idea for this portal, is just kind of brainstorming that Phoenix might be a good starting place. And Don Cross might be a really good person to point us into the direction of some of the community members. So with that, if any member has a question on this item, please feel free to email myself or Chris Gottsacker regarding any ideas or any questions you may have. And I'm going to move on in my report. Thank you. So the next item is just a review of the 2021 Transportation Safety Committee schedule. That was attachment 1 in your agenda packet. And as we have had in typical years, this current year is not typical because we've been developing a safety plan, a pretty comprehensive update to our safety plan. And so next year we anticipate going back to the 4th Tuesday of every month, of every odd month, with the exception of November. Just like this month, we are holding it a week early due to the Thanksgiving holiday. So just a really quick review of some of the 2021 projects. We discussed in past committee meetings regarding the Safe Routes to School fees that we had initiated this past year and had to be put on hold along with several other of our projects. We are now moving forward. Staff is working with the City of Avondale and the consultant and the schools and districts to finish up the fiscal year 2021 Safe Routes to School projects, and we anticipate getting closure on those here at the end of December. Now, as far as the next cycle of the Safe Routes to School studies, we also had a summit in the past couple of weeks, again, talking with member agencies, schools, and district administrators on kind of coming up with a strategy on how to get those Safe Routes to School projects going. So what we're going to do is we're going to push those off to start next spring. Hopefully we'll have some better indications from the county health department and also some direction that the schools want to go in. But we also feel like there's certain elements of the Safe Routes to School that we can probably do ahead of kids going back to school. So we'll be putting those scopes into motion and potentially requesting fee proposals from on-call consultants sometime in the beginning of next year. A tentative March start for those studies to begin for a closure on those at the end of June or at the end of the fiscal year. So as our program relates to the road safety assessments, as you may or may not be aware, but we were able to complete one road safety assessment this year before the closures happened. And we are also putting into motion a strategy to complete the rest of the fiscal year 2021 road safety assessment. So again, we're about 20% complete on those and looking to get those going again sometime in February, March to finish those out at the end of the fiscal year. The local agency safety studies, we will also be looking at getting started. One in the town of Cave Creek. It looks like we're going to be going ahead and starting to finish up that study here at the beginning of December. So we're also getting movement back on the local agency safety studies. As far as the pedestrian bicycle near miss analysis projects that we had in our budget, again, we haven't been able to start those, but we are looking for some strategies to do that. We are looking at obtaining some more granular ridership data from Valley Metro. For instance, time of day would be probably useful for us to decide when it's a good time to start collecting that, the video for that effort. We're going to be doing some outreach to some other transit agencies, MPOs, and the data analysis community on indicators for viable data gathering, specifically for transit related to bike and ped. And then, as I mentioned, we'll be developing a strategy to move forward with those near miss analysis. And then the predictive safety framework, looks like we're going to go ahead and get started on that sometime in the spring, and that should be concluding in December of next year. And then the last item there is the Strategic Transportation Safety Plan. We are in the process of completing the implementation plan based on comments and feedback from you all, committee members, as well as the stakeholders group that was identified to help develop the plan. I received that revised implementation plan on Monday, and I'll be jumping back into review of that here soon after this meeting. We've also initiated Task 8, monitor and reporting on the system performance and program effectiveness. We're going to be having an internal discussion with our performance measurement team this coming Friday to, again, come up with a strategy on how we're going to approach Task 8. We're expecting the draft plan in January 2021, so you may see something regarding that on the January agenda. So with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my, oh, actually, no, it doesn't. One more item. I would like to introduce Mike Kuzel. He is a human factors expert, and we have recently executed a contract with Mr. Kuzel as a MAG Safety Programs Associate. And I'd like to give Mike a brief opportunity to kind of give us a Cliff Notes version of his background. And so a lot of you may already know Mike Kuzel, but I'll let him introduce himself. Mike, do we have you?
I am here, thank you. And thank you for the introduction. Yes, my name is Mike Kuzel. I have worked with many of you doing the MAG road safety assessment studies over the past 9 years. And generally my background is in transportation safety and more broadly just in system safety. And so I look forward to the opportunity to be involved in the MAG programs going forward and becoming more engaged at a deeper level in both the road safety assessment program as well as the other strategic transportation safety plan and pedestrian and bike program that Margaret had mentioned. So hopefully I'll have a chance to meet you all in person sometime in the near future and discuss these programs in more depth. Thank you very much, Margaret.
Thanks, Mike. And with that, that does conclude my program manager's report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Margaret. For those of you that have specific questions regarding your report, please contact Margaret specifically. At this point in time, we'd like to go on to item number 5 on the agenda. And this item is the Transportation Alternatives Non-Infrastructure Safe Routes to School Projects. This item is on the agenda for information, discussion, and possible action. So MAG receives federal funds from Transportation Alternatives, TA, via Surface Transportation Block Grant. These funds can be used to fund safe route to school projects and activities, including non-infrastructure safe route to school projects. MAG issues a call for the project applications on July of 2020. We have received several presentations or several requests from that. MAG staff will provide an overview of the program and projects that we've received, and member agency staff will provide a brief 5-minute presentation on each of their projects. Members of the committee will have the opportunity to ask questions on each proposed project and provide their final evaluation scores via email. So those on the committee, we've already hopefully had a chance to look at these projects and provided an evaluation. Based on the presentation, we can modify those evaluations as well. So at this point, I turn it over to MAG staff to proceed with this portion of the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the MAG Transportation Safety Committee. So just a quick overview of what was available for the fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Also keeping in mind that we did have an initial call for projects for these 2 funding years about this time last year. And again, we kind of put those on hold because we were getting feedback that it was getting really tough to coordinate with schools and districts on developing applications. And so we went ahead and issued a second call for projects on July 30th of this year, as Mr. Chair mentioned. So for the Priority 1 studies projects, we had a little over $145,000 available in fiscal year 23 and a little over $175,000 for fiscal year 24. And you can see the maximums and minimums for the studies projects. For the Priority 2 support activities, we had 82 and 92,000 available respectively in fiscal year 2023 and 2024, with a max of $50,000 for each application. We did receive 5 applications from 4 agencies for the studies or the Priority 1 type projects, requesting over $500,000 in fiscal year 2023 and nearly $80,000 in fiscal year 2024. We also received 2 applications from 2 additional member agencies for support activities, totaling requests nearly $70,000 in fiscal year 23, with no requests for support activities in fiscal year 2024. So with that, as Mr. Chair mentioned, each member agency that has applied will have an opportunity to give the committee a 5-minute presentation. I will be keeping time on the presentations. So we're going to go ahead and just go in alphabetical order. And when I call out your agency name, if you could please unmute, or whoever's doing the presentation, please unmute your phone so the committee can hear you well. If you happen to have 2 slides in the presentation, please let me know when you're done with the first slide and would like for me to go to the next one. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And the first up is Buckeye.
Good morning, everybody. This is John Wilt, City of Buckeye. This is my first try at one of these safe routes. So hopefully I've covered everything in here. I provided a lot of information, so that's like a lot. Our first project that we're talking about is on the, actually is Verado. For those of you who do not know, Verados are I guess what people call our premier master plan community. We have 3 elementary schools, or actually 2 elementary schools and a middle school. Up in the upper left corner, the green is our middle school and first elementary school, Verado. They're basically 2 campuses, 2 different buildings on the same campus. A lot of the pedestrians walk together and then split from one school to the other school. So slide over to the right picture. It shows a blow up of the 2 schools. The top school is the elementary school. The bottom school is the middle school. The square on the call out on the left traffic circle, I don't call it a roundabout, the circle. It's got ped crossings in it. It seems to work okay, but I like to have some other people look at it and get their comments as well. That's where we should have a crossing. Main Street on the bottom is the main street that kind of goes through the Verado area, and there's a ped crossing there. And then we have Sunrise Lane up on the north side of the elementary school, where kids are now coming from the upper portion of the area. To the upper right, Sunrise Lane continues and crosses Indian School Road. There should be minimal to no students coming from that area, because that area up there is all active adult. But you know, you never know if there's kids. So we would like a study that kind of looks at the area around those 2 schools and make sure that we're designating kids go to the proper areas. Now the bottom, back to the left picture, the bottom blue is Veritage Elementary School. It's a newer one. And the tricky part with this is if you go to the right picture, right in the middle, at the intersection of Thomas and Verado Way, is a traffic signal that's supposed to be installed. It should have been installed before the school year started. We had issues with the poles. It should be activated probably the week after Thanksgiving. And right now the intersection's an all-way stop. And there are a lot of ped crossings right there, and which we think is good. That's what kind of helped justify the signal. But that empty lot underneath the inn is a subdivision coming in right now to be developed. The other 3 empty lots around the intersection are a combination of some commercial / residential with some interest. It's just dragging. We just want to, again, make sure that we're getting the students to follow the right path, and primarily with the new signal going in, to use the signal to cross Verado Way. It's kind of a busy road. The volumes are just going to keep getting higher as it goes, as stuff in the area develops. That's pretty much it for Verado. It's a self-contained community. There is basically no busing in any of these schools. These 3 schools serve the Verado area only, and the students all come either by foot or mom and dad drop them off, which is a whole nother challenge all of us are experiencing. So if you want to roll to the other schools, Margaret, that'd be great.
Actually, let's see, you did really well. You went under 5 minutes. Do any committee members have questions for John on this particular application for the Verado schools? If not, we'll move on to the second project application presentation. Okay. There you go, John.
Okay, and then I should have said one more thing in the Verado School. I'm sorry. Margaret and I came up with reducing the data collection cost because of 3 different schools and 3 different data collections, but we knew a lot of the data collection at the 2 combined schools would be the same. So we kind of trimmed that cost down. Okay, so Tartesto is another one of our master plan communities. It's off of Sun Valley Parkway, as the label on the right side of the picture says. The first school I'll talk about is closest to Sun Valley Parkway. It's right next to a huge traffic circle. That's Tartesto Elementary School, 35-mile-per-hour posted speed next to it. The best thing, I guess the nice thing about this traffic circle is when they built it, there are underground crossings underneath the road on the south leg of the circle and the west leg of the circle. So students do not have to cross the roads to get to the school. That's a nice feature. Basically, you just want to make sure that that's what's actually going on. You can see below the 35-mile-per-hour sign, we have some empty spaces that's still going to get built and developed with homes. There are buses that get delivered to the school. I have been out and watched how they operate. It seems to work okay. We do have a lot of parents who park on the street and get their kids. That's a whole nother issue outside the study, I think. But Tartezo Parkway is going to get more and more traffic. As you can see, the area to the west developed. There's a lot of empty space out there. And Tartezo is the main road in. So to jump over to the new school, you have to go to the far left side of the picture. And there's a call out on the bottom right, bottom left. It says elementary school number 4. That is the new school. It is not there today. However, it's under planning and it will be there by the beginning of 2022. That's why for this project, I had proposed the 2024 data. That way the school would have been in place for at least a year and operating. The partially shaded area north of the school, that is under development. And this is not a very good picture. A more recent picture, which unfortunately came in really fuzzy when I tried to use it, already shows a bunch of homes developed in this area. The traffic study being developed for the elementary school, I have asked them to include a component for safe routes to school and identify where the best crossings are. Hopefully the study that, if you guys all approve this, the study will then evaluate that and make any recommendations to change it. Tartesto Parkway next to the school is 4-lane. It is divided. There are no signals anywhere on Tartesto Parkway this time. You can see there's another big, huge traffic circle in the middle area of the western portion of the project. But again, there are no signals. And we just want to make sure we have kids crossing at the appropriate locations. For Tartesto number 4, I would prefer the crossings happening a little farther away from the school to not be right at the intersection that has all the parents dropping their kids off. That's pretty much it for this school as well, this study. I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Just to verify, this is more kind of a verification study, make sure you have the crossings in the right location versus trying to figure out, because it sounds like, I'm impressed, it sounds like the schools already have it pretty well located. It's just kind of making sure the infrastructure there is the correct infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yes, we're working with the school to try to get the crossing in the right location. I'll be honest, we're having a little challenge right now with the school and getting the queuing on site to work. So we're having to adjust driveways. I'm sure every city traffic person who deals with schools has that same challenge. Schools think one way, they think their schools are awesome and they've got it lined out perfect, and it doesn't work quite that way. So we are having the study being done by the school look at those safe routes to school. And part of the study that I'm asking for, hoping to get, is to go back and look at it and make sure that we did guess the best locations, and kids are actually really crossing where we hoped they would cross, and everything's working out right. Any other questions?
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. I saw the chat kind of fire up, but I wanted to make sure that if we are getting questions that we get them verbally. It's just easier for us to track that type of thing and better for discussions. So if you do have questions, make sure you unmute and let us know. Thank you. If there are no questions on this particular application.
Again, thank you everybody for listening and reviewing our stuff.
Thanks, Sean. And with that, we'll move forward. We have El Mirage. Nick, is there somebody from El Mirage going to make this presentation, or are you going to make the presentation?
Thank you, Margaret, members of the committee. I believe Bryce Christo is in the audience today, so he'll be making the presentation.
Thank you.
Hi, members of the committee. And it's Autumn Grooms from El Mirage, and I've got Bryce Christo in the room with me. The City of El Mirage Safe Routes to School Support Activity Project requests 2 radar speed signs near both El Mirage and Surprise Elementary schools for a total of 4 signs. And these signs will serve as traffic calming devices and promote self-enforcement. El Mirage will also develop educational pamphlets that will be distributed to parents to promote active transportation options, as well as provide bicycle helmets and lights to students. We'll work with our public safety personnel to distribute these items to students at El Mirage and Surprise Elementary schools once the radar speed signs are installed, and promote walking and bicycling to school. For this project, we're requesting $35,600 in fiscal year 2023 and providing a local match of $2,029. Thank you.
Do any members of the committee have questions for Autumn? Thank you, Autumn and Bryce. We'll go ahead and move on to the next application and presentation. Florence Safe Routes to Schools. I believe we have Chris Salas from Florence providing the presentation today.
Good evening. Good morning, committee members. I'm so used to presenting in front of the council late at night. I guess I can't adjust after last night's council meeting. We completed our Safe Routes to School study in 2018 with Ms. Herrera's assistance and project management. This is the second Safe Routes to School study that I've been part of in different towns and cities. Once again, we're following up on some of the projects identified, some of the improvements that are identified in that Safe Routes to School study. And so very similar to the last presentation, we're looking at purchasing vehicle feedback signs. These vehicle feedback signs that we have quoted, at least so far, and doing our assessment, have data log capabilities. So we're able to determine mean, 85th percentile, speed. We're able to aggregate that data during school times. We're able to determine how many vehicles are going outside of that 85th percentile by evaluating the data. This will be coordinated with the Florence Police Department. There has been some close calls in the school area. Each one appears to be have been evaluated and found to be essentially just complete driver error. There doesn't appear to be anything that is grossly negligent on the signing, or I guess maybe the lack of signing. But we can't stop people from just going through a speed sign or a child going through a stop sign at an intersection. So these signs are essentially going to be used to assist with our enforcement and determining the actual issues versus maybe the perceived issues of the public. I've got experience with these signs in the past. And again, just like the last presentation, they seem to be able to give back immediate feedback to the traveling public when it lights up and gives you a message back. So there's also a feedback component outside of enforcement and something punitive as far as a speeding ticket. But like I said, it's helping us, it will help us gather data to determine what issues are, if there are any. And again, these were identified in the 2018 Safe Routes to School study. There will be 4 at each school covering each east-west or north-south road and drop-off area. There's different drop-offs in these schools for whatever reason. I empathize with Mr. Willett, as I'm sure all of us do, as it relates to school and the queuing that goes on specifically with charter schools. Well, charter schools, I think, are great education. They present a unique problem when there's no busing made available and you have 900 or 1,000 kids essentially all arriving within a 12-minute window. These schools do have buses, they do have child drop-off, and they do have a certain percentage of children that do walk to school. We are essentially asking for $37,000 with a $2,109 local match. We will be producing a newsletter and pamphlets that are shared with the school. We have a letter of support from the school. They were coordinated on with the study. And so there's a public outreach component, which will be essentially through Jennifer Evans and our PIO. It'll be a team effort on that part there. It's quite possible that myself, the town engineer, will be doing some presentations at schools. I've done that in the past as well. So I believe, without repeating any of the things that were said in the last presentation, again, vehicle feedback signs, and these will allow us to data log and work with our police department on enforcement locations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salas. Do members of the committee have questions for Florence? All right, hearing none, we'll move forward with the town of Gilbert.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Safety Committee. Myself and several of my team are actually fairly new to the town of Gilbert. I started in first part of December and then slowly built, add a few more people to my team. This is our first crack at a Safe Routes to School application, at least for some time from what I've been able to tell. After we've been slowly getting to know our schools better and better, COVID's made it a little interesting, understand their priorities. We have, after coordinating with several different schools and MAG, we chose to apply for our top 4 schools in one application. That would be an application for $166,000. And those schools are the Power Ranch School, Spectrum, Mesquite, and Quartz Hill. All these are elementary schools. Let's see, they would all be receiving a full study looking at it. Each of these schools have they all have man crossings, and they have a circulation plan to kind of try and keep the cars moving around, but they don't have a really integrated safe routes, understanding how well these pedestrians conflict with the cars, how to get them separated, how to get them to the school and encourage more. Some of the schools are better than the others as far as separating the circulation from the travel. These schools they're eager to figure out how to promote and provide a better path for these kids. We often get complaints from a couple of different schools about, hey, we're worried about the kids. How can we improve this? We've gone out on site on a couple of them and tried to look at the scenario ourselves to see how we can improve it. A lot of it has to do with more speed issues as well. So we are eager to kind of have this take place. It's kind of more of just a high overlook of all of them in this. Since this application, we were able to present this grant opportunity to our council, and we have received their support. So I would request that you update that in your scoring. At the time of the application, we were not able to get it on the agenda. That kind of covers if there's any questions.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? All right, with that, we will move forward with Peoria. Brandon Forey.
Thank you, Margaret, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to present our program or requested project. As many of you know, Peoria is very active working with schools. I'm very proud of the work we do. We've developed queuing requirements for elementary schools. We work very intently with the districts and charter schools for the layout of the schools to make sure there's enough queuing, that we have contingency plans that we're figuring out before the school opens, the walking routes for the schools. We provide ongoing support and develop circulation plans and just an extensive work. But there's one area that's really sorely neglected, in my opinion, and that's our walking maps. And this example right here on the screen shows an example, and it's serviceable, it works, but basically this is the map that I had worked to develop with our IT department many, many years ago when I first started at Peoria, which was pretty much a continuation of the maps I had done while at Phoenix back in the early 2000s. Frankly, it looks like it should be printed by a dot matrix printer and crumpled up and left in the passenger seat of a 1970s Gremlin. So it really needs a facelift. So what we're hoping to do is kind of bring our walking maps up to the standard that people expect for our other support activities for schools. And it's something I would like to see our maps not only get a facelift, but also come up to the current age. And something that Peoria has been doing that you may not know about is we've been working with more technology and innovation. Our annual count maps are now an interactive map on our website. We very recently implemented a contact-free electronic petition process for our speed humps and traffic calming. And I would love to see not only an update to every one of our elementary school walking maps, but also create an interactive map where students would be able to either enter their address or select where their house is. And the map will automatically show them the route specific to them, to their school, rather than flooding them with all this information of arrows plastered all over a map. So what we're hoping for is a more useful map. One thing that we did do recently is we asked our IT folks and Office of Communications to look at how much interaction were we getting with our maps on our website. And frankly, it was miserable. People just really aren't using them. But again, we haven't done much to promote them very much. Like I said, this is the one area of our program where it's lacking. And this is the area that needs some love. So our request is for funding to work with a consultant to work cooperatively with not only our traffic engineering division, but also with our IT and Office of Communications to come up with some really great innovative walking maps for the entire, for every one of the elementary schools. And those are primarily the Peoria Unified School District, but we also have 2 elementary schools in the Deer Valley Unified School District. And with that, I would be available to answer any questions you may have on our request.
Thank you, Brandon. Any questions by committee from committee members for Peoria? All right, that brings us to surprise, last but definitely not least. I think we have Martin Lucero. Dana, is Martin giving this presentation?
I am, sorry, I was trying to get my computer to unmute. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you, Martin.
Committee members, thank you so much for allowing me to have the opportunity to be able to speak with you today. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of background that the City of Surprise, since last 7 years, have has been implementing a robust Safe Routes to School program here for the city, and we have been working hand in hand with our school district as well as with all our charter schools to establish the best principles and practices as we move forward. With that being said, we've have been able to create Safe Routes to School plans for all the Dysart schools except for this one, which is being presented today, as well as the majority of our charter schools within our city. The reason why we have this request before you today is that the Dysart Unified School District has opened up a new school within our city boundaries, as well as a new Legacy West school, charter school, has opened up within the city boundary. With these two new schools, we want to go ahead and move forward and create a Safe Routes to School plan that mirrors the good practices which we have been creating here within the city, but also helps to plug up those empty holes. What we really try to do is try to take what we've been doing throughout the city and implement those on a personal level to each individual school. The Asante's Preparatory Academy School is located along Pat Tillman, just west of 163rd Avenue. Pat Tillman is 2 lanes in each direction. It is a coming off the only entrance in and to US 60 North. And so we do have a very aggressive amount of traffic that is heading north and south, as well as along Pat Tillman is the east-west arterial, which actually feeds Asante's from the south. And so what we're really trying to do here is trying to make sure that what we do have as existing pedestrian facilities, that we identify if those are up to not only standard, but up to snuff to be able to continue to help move our pedestrians back and forth, or if we need to add any additional remedies in the future. So currently right now, Asante's Preparatory is opened up. We do have quite a few of individuals moving in and walking to this subdivision. I do want to also point out that Legacy West, which is not on this map, is just southwest of here. They are a brand new school. They have opened up and they are actually fronting along major arterials as well as from Cotton, as well as Cactus, and both of those arterials are serving a new planned community for Toll Brothers, and as well as feeding in off of the existing community northwest of there. And so for both of these schools, we do have traffic counts, we do have pedestrian counts, which we've identified, and we are working with those schools to be able to make sure that things are moving forward in a positive manner. However, what we are trying to do is trying to make sure that those schools are not left to just pick and choose at random what they feel might work, but we walk side by side with them and make sure that we have a plan that is addressed and identified and have specific items that are pulled from what our good practices have found in the past. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Martin. Do we have any questions from committee members? All right, that brings us to the end of our Safe Routes to School presentations. We need to move into kind of a tightening up of the evaluation scores. If you will refer to attachment 2 in your agenda packet, you will see that we do have kind of an over request for the, particularly for fiscal year 2023. We do have an opportunity with the funds that are had not been requested for 2024 that are under the support activity category. We do have an opportunity, because that is a kind of a soft allocation, to move those dollars into the Safe Routes to School studies for 2023. So we have Patrick Stone. He's our transportation improvement project manager, and he will help give us some guidance into that. But you can see from looking at attachment 2 that your evaluation scores are going to be really important here. So whether you have already submitted your evaluation scores and maybe you heard something during the presentations that answered one of your questions, you can revise your scores and please send them to Chris Gottsacker. We'd like to get those here pretty immediately so that staff can start working on getting all the scores in and re-ranking the project. So what we're going to do, this is a lot different this year because we're remote, but we're going to go ahead and set like a 30-minute break here so that we can go ahead and collect those evaluation scores, get them back into the master evaluation sheet, and then provide the committee with what those rankings look like. So with that, we'll come back at 10:30.
Margaret, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I just wanted verification for submitting our committee scores. Do you need us to send confirmation that the previously submitted scores are still sufficient if we don't have any changes? That way you have positive confirmation from every committee member that they have submitted their final ranking?
That is a great idea. Yes. So if you have submitted scores and your scores are staying the way they were as submitted, then please also let Chris Gottsacker know that as well. Thanks, Brandon. Any other really good questions like that?
Margaret, this is Martin.
Hi, Martin.
I apologize. Can I just chime in and say that the City Surprise, if needed, can slide our request to FY24 if that helps out the committee. So just as a FYI, we would be willing to do that if that helps out your scoring or your ranking at all.
Thank you, Martin. I'll make that note. All right, we'll see everybody back at 10:30. Mohammed or Chris, if you can hear me, can you confirm that you're seeing the spreadsheet
Yes,
in the Zoom meeting?
we can hear you and we can see the spreadsheet.
Okay. The other thing we need to do is check to make sure that we still have quorum. So give me a second. And I'm going to do that. So we have Aaron. We have Brandon. Brandon, are you still in the meeting? Are you back in the meeting?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Aaron Pinkerton, you still in the meeting?
Yes, I am.
Carl Langford?
I'm here.
Okay. Kathy Hollow?
Yes, ma'am.
Dana Ossiani?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. John Willett?
I'm here.
Matthew Reeg?
Here.
Thank you, sir. Mohammed Youssef?
I'm here.
Nick Russo?
I'm here.
Sam Taylor?
I'm here.
Shane?
Yep, I made it back.
Great. Tom Peterson?
I'm here.
Great. And then Mazen. Mazen Muradovich, are you back? Okay, I see him in, I just don't have his speaker. So with those that I called and have confirmed, we do still have quorum, Mr. Chair. So what we're going to do right now is go ahead and show the spreadsheet while you're seeing it on your screen. You should be seeing it on your screen. Please let me know if you cannot see it. And then I am going to let Patrick Stone actually talk us through our options. And as you can see, before we went on the break, the City of Surprise suggested that their project be moved into 2024 to kind of help balance out. You now see the scores for, these are for the studies initially. So you can see the scores for those projects, and then you can also see down below the support activity. The other thing that I do want to point out is we did move the amounts that were remaining, that in other words, that we did not have requests for, up top here so that you could see those amounts are added in each fiscal year to go against, again, what has been requested. So with that, I'll go ahead and let Patrick kind of talk about some potential options here.
Thank you, Margaret, Mr. Chair, members of the Safety Committee. So essentially, and thank you, Margaret, for kind of walking through everyone. What we've done is we took the exhaust balances from support activity, we moved them up into the studies for 23 and 24. What I've done, and I've got my screen working over on the side here, I apologize, I can't share it, but I'll kind of walk it through verbally, so it should be okay. I took Surprise, moved them from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24, factoring in the additional funding from the support activity. Where we currently sit with no other switches is we're over-programmed in FY23 by 141,000, and then we're under-programmed in fiscal year 24 by 180,000. Though the obvious solution, and if Margaret, could you scroll up the screen? I apologize, I don't know who's controlling the screen. Perfect, thank you so much. Looking at the committee rank, what we would be looking at is, because of the under and over programming, the first option would be to take the Gilbert project, which is currently ranked 5th, and sliding that project from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24. With that singular action, plus what Surprise was gracious to do, we'd be back in alignment. We would be programmed. So what I'm doing real quick on my spreadsheet, I'm sliding Gilbert from 23 to 24 just to see what the numbers do. Where that leaves us at is then we have a balance in fiscal year 23 of 15,000, which is good. And then in fiscal year 24, we have a balance of 23,000. So actually fairly well organized. It looks really well. Just double checking my formulas. Apologize real quick. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything in my calculations. It looks good. Yep.
I'm a surprise.
What's that?
It looks like Buckeye and Surprise don't have the same cost, and it doesn't seem to be adding up. Oh, in the previous, never mind. John and I are saying the same thing. The costs for Buckeye and Surprise are shown as the same and they're not totaling.
Yeah, I think it's the formula in row 12 is not capturing that correctly. So if you go to cell D12, Margaret, it'd be the next, yeah, right there. Yeah, you need to change the formula to go to row D10 as well.
There's still something off. So let me check this one as well. Oh, that's fine. So Patrick, you had 23,000. So I'm off by about 30,000.
So what I'm showing is the total available for FY24 on the original spreadsheet. So it looks like your number is 275,094. So let me correct that real quick. Yeah, so now I show 15,307 in 23 and 53,263 in FY24.
Okay, so we're synced up.
We are synced up. And based on that, any questions, comments, feedback from the chair or members of the committee?
I'm first to say, Town of Gilbert, we'd be happy to go ahead and shift to 24. In our original application, we put 23 or 24 with a preference of 23. So we are perfectly happy with this, and it makes sense since we were one of the lower ones to, well, the lowest, to go ahead and shift to the farther out year.
So just to confirm, the action that's going to be taken by the committee is to fund the fiscal year 2023 as amended by the scores and by the suggestions by Gilbert and Surprise, as well as both the support activity projects will be funded in the years that they had requested initially. So this is the list of projects that we are taking action on. Is there any more discussion or questions? I'm going to go back to the presentation slides.
I think there's still one more correction. Our number is right, but Buckeye should have been 78,793.
I'm sorry, was that Dana?
You have Buckeye and Surprise shown at the same amount, and they're not. The request, Buckeye should be 78,793. John, can you please confirm that?
I am looking right now.
It looks like Gilbert's.
Oh, never mind. Okay, I'm off one line from the 23 and 24. We're okay now.
Yeah, Dana. What had originally happened is somehow our Verado and Tartesto projects were switched in fiscal years. So I think Chris and Margaret fixed them with this final scoring.
Got it. Thank you.
I have to go back to the application itself, but from our presentation that you copied over, I believe it's correct. My value was $66,400 for Gilbert. I can quickly get back to the application, but
Tell you what, Chris, can you get on the webpage or get into our records? It really should be what's on the webpage, and confirm Gilbert's assessment.
Hi, it's Autumn from El Mirage. I have our grant application that it was submitted at, oh, I'm sorry. It's correct. I looked at the wrong column.
Okay, and also just to note that the numbers that you're seeing here are your federal amounts.
that's what I was just realizing. I think
Okay.
Because it should be just over 9,000 difference.
Okay, yeah. I apologize, but I'm sharing my screen, and so it's kind of easier for me to have Chris to kind of look at the application and verify, but we're happy to do that.
Yeah, that should be correct.
Okay.
Yeah, our most updated records have the 156, 915, and 20 cents to be exact for the federal funds.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to try to find my way back to the presentation slides here. Okay, is everybody seeing the presentation slide?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all for the discussion, and thank you those that have presented as well. This item is directly for action. So we do have a recommendation here. So we recommend approval of the list of projects to be funded with the available TASTRS funds from fiscal year 2023 and 2024, which was noted on the spreadsheet earlier. So that is the motion at this time. Is there any further discussion needed for this? Otherwise, we are looking for a someone to recommend the motion.
Margaret, this is Kathy, did Chris check the evaluation sheet that we all had for the dollar amounts? The one that's on the website?
Yes, he checked the application and verified that with Gilbert. I think what we didn't realize was that the amounts that we're showing on the screen are the federal dollar amounts and not the total. And so,
so the one
oh,
go ahead.
I think at first Gilbert was thinking that it should be the full amount when we're really only showing the federal amounts.
Well, the spreadsheet that I had shows Buckeye was 78 something for both years.
I don't think so, because one of their projects includes 3 schools and the other includes 2.
Okay.
So there was some adjustment that Mr. Willett explained with regard to kind of realizing some economy with 2 of the schools, recognizing that we could do some of the data collection. It would be done in the same locations for those 2 schools.
So the number changed after we got our evaluation?
Shouldn't have.
Oh, okay.
I think what's important, Kathy, unless you have a comment as it relates between the cost and your evaluation score, is that the town of Buckeye recognizes that those amounts are correct on the sheet as we showed it.
Okay, so the evaluation, I'm looking at the evaluation sheet, it's not correct, but the application is. The application has the 87. Somehow in the what do we call it, evaluation checklist that you gave us, it had 78. So his application's correct, it just got transposed in the table. Thank you.
Well, his 2024 is 78,458, but his 2023 is 87,793. I think what happened was they got switched. His 2024 and his 2023 got switched. And so we corrected it in the sheet that we just showed on the screen, which is what we're taking action on. So as long as is what we're taking action on is correct, then we should be good to go.
I was just looking at my evaluation sheet and the numbers are different, so, okay.
Yeah. The evaluation sheet, it's, if you notice the hundreds dollar signs are right. So I mean there was a typo, I guess, in the original one. But as Margaret said, what's important is what we're presenting right now. Apologies for that confusion though.
Thank you, Kathy, and for clarification on that item. So at this time, could I have a motion to recommend approval of the list of the projects to be funded with the available with the available TA, ST funds in fiscal year 2023 and 2024?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Shane, City of AJ. I would make a motion to move forward with approval of the list of projects as we just amended.
I'll second the motion, it's Kathy.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Kathy. With that, we do need to have a roll call for those in favor and anybody else. Margaret, could you please do roll call of the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Again, if when I call your name, please unmute and indicate yay or nay. Shane Kiso.
Yay.
Thomas Peterson. John Willett. I'm sorry,
Yay.
Tom, did you chime in?
Yes.
Okay. John Willett.
Yes.
Nick Rousseau.
Yay.
Aaron Pinkerton.
Yay.
Matthew Reed.
Yay.
Mazen.
Yeah.
Brandon Forey.
Yay.
Carl Langford.
Yay.
Jason Botchin.
Kathy Borkus for Jason Botchin, yay.
Muhammad Yusuf.
Yay.
Sam Taylor.
Yay.
Dana Ossiani.
Yay.
Kathy Hollow.
Yay.
Are there any other committee members that I didn't call on that may have joined? I think that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. With that, the motion as amended does pass. Thank you, everybody, for participation in this. Our next item on the agenda is our MAG Roadway Safety Program projects. MAG initiated the Roadway Safety Program, or RSP, in 2029 to be administered by MAG to supplement the state's Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP, and assist with providing additional funding in the short term. MAG issued a call for project applications on July 30th of this year to request fiscal year funds for 2022 RSP funds or projects. MAG staff will provide an overview of the program and projects. Member agency staff will be provided a brief 5-minute presentation on each of their projects. Members of the committee will have the opportunity to ask questions on each proposed project and provide their final evaluation scores via email. This time we'll turn it over to Margaret and MAG staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the MAG Transportation Safety Committee. So we had a really initial year of funding in this program, and we're pretty excited that we're going to be able to fund some more short-term safety improvement projects with this. Just a brief overview for 2022 program, we had almost $1.9 million available. These projects are with a 24-month completion periods. We did receive 12 applications this year from 6 member agencies requesting nearly $4 million. So some of the improvements that we saw on the applications that you'll see here in a minute are things like pedestrian crossing improvements, traffic calming, both new traffic signals and enhancing existing traffic signals, as well as improvement of left turn offset. So we're going to go through the same process as we did for the Safe Routes to School project. So we'll go in alphabetical order, starting with the city of Avondale. Let me get my timer back on my screen here. And we will start with Tom Peterson at the city of Avondale.
Good morning, committee members and chair. Avondale is submitting an application for a pedestrian hybrid beacon on Avondale Boulevard, which is our primary north-south route. It's our only continuous north-south route to the entire city. And right now it carries about 20,000 vehicles a day. Speeds out there it's posted at 35, but a lot of times the speeds go higher. This is the place we're going to install it is about 600 feet south of MC 85. Where there is a designated pedestrian crossing, school crossing. We have an elementary school called Littleton Elementary School, which is just to the west of Avondale Boulevard. We have a large income challenged community to the east of Avondale Boulevard, and this crossing is used from our State Route to School or Safe Route to School study that we did in 2018. There's about 50 students, 40 to 50 students that use that crossing each morning and in the afternoon. The crossing, as I mentioned, volume of traffic, there's about 20,000 cars a day. It's near a commercial shopping center as well, so there's a lot of activity coming in and out of the driveways. And the crossing currently uses 2 crossing guards to cross the 5-lane to 6-lane arterial. We've had one, over the past 5 years, we had one pedestrian injured that crossed near this crossing, a little bit farther south, but a school child was crossing. We've had about 13 crashes in that vicinity in that time period as well. A couple of them almost involved pedestrian injuries again. They were related because of cars that were stopping and cars behind them weren't noticing that someone had suddenly stopped in front of them and had rear-end crashes. I think there was about 2 more crashes there that involved pedestrians that were crossing at the time. However, none of them were injured. So that may have affected our score as well. But the main thing is Avondale Boulevard carries about 20,000 cars a day. The speeds are relatively high. Even with the crossing out there at 15 miles per hour during school time, we see a lot of traffic that are not obeying that speed limit. And the main thing is that Avondale Boulevard is projected to carry much more traffic in the next 10 years. Most of the south part of Avondale is undeveloped, but we have about 5,300 dwelling units going in that will be directly funneling up mostly up Avondale Boulevard to I-10, which is the main corridor that for commuter traffic at that time. And we are concerned about that. We've had a lot of requests from parents and the school district to improve the safety of that crossing. And that's why we are applying for this application. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I apologize, I was muted. Any questions from committee members for the city of Avondale? Great. Thank you, Tom. With that, we'll move on to Carefree.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, committee. Let me start my video here. Good morning. I'm Stacy Bridge-Denzak. I'm the planning director for the town of Carefree. And we want to tell you we're just thrilled to be considered for this funding. This is my first time making this request, and I want to thank Margaret. She really helped coordinate us. I appreciated that. And for those of you not too familiar with Carefree, we're pretty far north of the Phoenix metro area. Not Flagstaff north, but north is North Scottsdale kind of north. So we're pretty far up there. We kind of consider ourselves as destination community. One thing about working in a small town, we're about 3,500 people, 8 square miles, is that staff has the opportunity to have a good relationship with their commission and council. And I can relate to you that this is an important project to our town council. So if you look at our map, we're looking at, there's 2 main arterials that head into our town center, head through our town center as well, Tom Darlington Drive and Cave Creek Road. We're looking for funding as a phase 1 for Tom Darlington Drive. But as you can see, there's 4 main crossings that are identified. And what's really important about those crossings is that they actually connect town center to the neighborhood and the neighborhoods to town center. We have a lot of neighborhoods that surround. And so those are really very well used crossings. That's part of our request. So again, as phase 2, we're looking to improve 2 arterial crosswalks with raised pedestrian walks and medians. We're looking to do also the pedestrian activated signals, as well as implement some traffic calming such as bulb outs. One thing that we were very fortunate in our process is that we had an in-person sort of stakeholder, general public outreach, in-person meetings with our town council. So we really felt fortunate to have that kind of human interaction. And so we feel that we've got the right approach and it's been accepted by the community. So we're requesting $205,500. We've invested approximately $25,000. I think it's important to note that while Carefree is an upscale community, we actually operate without any property tax. And so often we can find funds to design these projects, but we also find a lot of challenges trying to actually fund the improvements themselves. Looking at our crash rate of 2, I don't know how that compares with the other Valley cities, but it's not 0. So I think that's important to know. We've had no fatalities or serious injury crashes, but the way I look at it is I think we've been operating on luck, and I don't really think luck is the way to operate in terms of safety. So we also have a benefit cost ratio, 2.3 to 1. Again, it shows that we have the need. It's a positive number, and that money can go to the potential of saving lives. So it's important to the town. What it comes down to is we've gotten numerous complaints of safety concerns from our residents, from visitors. I can tell you why this is important to our council is that one of our council members, she walks her dog every day, crosses Cave Creek Road. And I can tell you she's got a number of stories where at times she's literally been in the crosswalk holding up her hands as somebody is still approaching as she's crossing. So we have speed issues. We are posted at 30, but it seems hard for people to maintain 30 through town. And as I mentioned, we've had these near misses, and we really just want to increase the safety of the pedestrians in our crosswalks. We're a very walkable community. We've got beautiful gardens, so it is an asset to our town. And in general, we just need to protect those vulnerable modes. So in conclusion, I just would like to say, we would appreciate the funding to improve safety for our crosswalk users. We want to reduce that vehicular speed as best we can to enhance that safety and just really stop the traffic when crosswalks are in use. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Any questions from committee members? Great, we'll move right on to the town of Gilbert.
Okay, let's go and get started here, just so you can actually see my face. So I have 2 that I'll be presenting on. This first one, unfortunately, there was a teen fatality here while she was on a bike crossing, visible. So this is a very high priority for us. This crossing gets used frequently still. It's a 45-mile-per-hour section, a 4-lane facility here with over 22,000 vehicles a day. You'll notice just to the north is an access point to the Christ Greenfield Gilbert campus. This is both a school that has 400 students enrolled, preschool through 8th grade, and then they have 11,000 Sunday worshipers. That's according to their website. I don't have the actual numbers anymore. We provided those to his designer. And some in-person meetings we had with them coordinating early on. We are in the design process for this one, as it is a very high priority for us to get this implemented. We, in the coordination with the church and looking through design options, looking at the traffic impacts, we did look at various options of moving their access or how to provide a safe crossing here. Ultimately, we ended up with a 3 signal pole signal incorporating the access into the crossing to be able to provide a safe environment for crossing, that the cars wouldn't be turning and not realizing that there's someone crossing there. A couple more things. We recently completed a safety improvements for trail crossing study, looking at all our crossings, both signalized and unsignalized. This is one of those that was ranked in the top 10 for the whole town, as well as the next one I'll be discussing. There haven't been too many accidents, but unfortunately there has been a fatality and 1 critical. As it is being continually used, it's something we need to get on top of before they're more injured, as well as all the other ones in our study. Are there any questions? Okay, Margaret, if you please move on to the second. Thank you. This one also was part of the improvement study. It showed as a need looking to try and get trail users across Ray Road. The Santana Vista Trail is one of our canal trails. Ray Road at this location has 6 lanes of 45-mile-per-hour vehicles with nearly 24,000 vehicles per day. So once again, it's a heavily used facility, both for pedestrians and for vehicles. And so this would be providing that safe means for users to be able to continue down the trail. Right now, a lot of the users don't want to risk crossing, so they try and find other means or just don't utilize the facility. Or they take the risk and you watch them running across. The site, we did have a fatality of a motorcyclist. Here it is a long stretch corridor. But we haven't had any pedestrian fatalities as of yet, and we want to keep it that way. Thank you. Is there any questions for me on this one?
Thank you, Erin. We'll go ahead and move forward with the City of Peoria.
Thank you very much, Margaret, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is, to me, this is a perfect example of the purpose of this type of a project. This is Peoria's probably #1 priority project, and this is a request for a pedestrian hybrid beacon, also known as a HAWK, on 83rd Avenue south of Shangri-La for Peoria High School. This is a crosswalk that I have a lot of history with. I worked to get it installed a number of years ago when we had high volumes of mid-block crossings for students that frankly didn't respond to do not cross here signs after repeated efforts. There was a traffic signal 600 feet to the north at Shangri-La, but there is a Sonic across the street, which is a destination both for pickup drop-off and for the kids to go, not only before and after school, but even during the middle of the day during breaks. It's just a location where there's constant crossings. But in the arrival and dismissal times, there are about 200 crossings at this location every morning and every afternoon. Initially, when the crosswalk was installed, we did it with a raised pedestrian refuge island, and that has had a decent history. Unfortunately, the crossing has been repeatedly hit by by drivers we assume are drunk. Usually after holiday weekends, we come back to find the fencing damaged. but over the years, we've enhanced the crossing a number of times. We have upgraded the location to install rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which are there to this day. We just very recently upgraded those rapid flashing beacons to another one in the median itself. And we have stencils that say PED Xing ahead. Finally, there's the unprecedented action of a high school having an adult crossing guard operating at this location. We found that with the pedestrian hybrid beacon where the students press the button and cross at will, they were not giving any gaps to traffic, and it was actually negatively impacting the safety. Since the crossing guard has been implemented, the crossing is operated much better. But the reason, why do we have a crossing guard at a high school? Why did we just upgrade for the additional flashing beacon in the island? That's because, unfortunately, we had a student fatality last year. The student did press the button. The student was in the #1 northbound lane, which is meaning the lane closer to the center of the street. There's 2 lanes each direction and a center turn lane. The driver did not, from our understanding, did not even brake, did not seem to see the student. The student did not seem to see the motorist, unfortunately. And that's something that we really believe that the pedestrian hybrid beacon would be a huge benefit. It's much more visible than a pedestrian hybrid beacon. And particularly for this type of a street, Peoria uses the Arizona Step Guide, which I would actually recommend for every agency to utilize as a very powerful tool that is location specific, that helps you identify appropriate pedestrian countermeasures and safety techniques. And the street, 83rd Avenue, is posted at 30 miles an hour, but as we know in many cases, that doesn't necessarily dictate the actual driver speed. So 85th percentile speeds are northwards of 40 miles an hour, which gets us into really what's more appropriate to have a pedestrian hybrid beacon at this location. When we do install the pedestrian hybrid beacon, we intend to remove the pedestrian refuge island, which will also probably it would definitely decrease the chances of anything in the road getting hit by those errant drivers on holiday weekends. But we found from examples in Phoenix where it's just really not appropriate to have that pedestrian refuge island when you have the Hawk, because we are wanting the students to get across in one crossing effort with all traffic stopping for them when they cross. One final note I'd like to make is that we work very closely with the Peoria High School and the Peoria High School District, or excuse me, Peoria Elementary and Unified School District, thank you. But we're going to continue to request that the school post an adult school crossing guard at the location during arrival and dismissal times, just to ensure we have a high level of compliance for use of the Hawk crossing. We do know that there's a number of crossings beyond those times. In fact, it's just a trickle of student crossings before and after the main arrival and dismissal times. But we want to do everything we can to ensure that this is used and it's effective. One final note is that we do have a CCTV camera that is mounted at the nearby signal at 83rd Avenue in Shangri-La. So, and we have it pointed at this crossing. So we have the luxury of being able to observe this crossing anytime we want, and to go back a couple of days footage to see what each and every crossing looked like. And this is one that we monitor very frequently to make sure that the students are using it that are crossing appropriately, and that the crossing guard is doing everything he or she should be doing to make sure that they're giving appropriate cues to the drivers and maintain the highest level of safety possible. And with that,
thank you, Brandon.
And with that, I'm open to questions.
Thank you. So one of the things that I like to mention, there may be a question, but as you can see on the screen, there's an amendment to this. And what we try to do is when there were questions that came from evaluators, we tried to turn that right on to the agency and ask if they would like to amend their application. So what you're seeing on the screen is in response to the city of Peoria going back and taking a harder look at their construction costs to amend it for the lower dollar amount, which also consistently increase their benefit cost ratio. So that's the amendment that you're seeing here on the screen.
And if I could add to that very quickly, Peoria is very conservative. We're very fiscally conservative, and we try to make sure that when we ask for money, we don't have to go back and ask for more money or run short to plan for any contingency. So that's why we had a very conservative estimate originally of almost 400,000, but we refined the estimate based on some recent work at a nearby traffic signal.
Any questions from committee members before we move on to the second Peoria project?
Okay, thank you. The second project is a pretty simple request at the intersection of 91st Avenue and Thunderbird. This is an intersection that is unfortunately one of our top crash locations, and we have a history of fatalities, specifically involving motorcycles. Within the study period, there were 2 documented motorcycle fatalities, but unfortunately, just beyond the study period submitted, there's a third fatality, fatality as well, another motorcyclist. All of these were left turns. And I've been at this location a number of times. We've looked at measures to improve safety. We've ultimately protected the left turn for westbound to southbound. As you can see on the screen, this is an awkward intersection. There's a very large power pole right in the middle of the south leg. And that we also have a number of elderly drivers. We're very close to Sun City in this area. And we want to do everything we can to improve safety. And one of the very low cost and simple measures that we're implementing across the city with any of our CIP projects is just to eliminate negative offsets for left turns. And in doing that, we're pulling the median bullnoses back 50 feet from the intersection. In this case, these are only 4 feet wide medians, but that 4 feet creates enough of a negative offset that it really restricts the ability for a driver in the left turn to see oncoming traffic and the through traffic in the opposite direction. We have restricted the left turns for westbound to southbound, but even with that, we know that Arizona has a little bit of a tendency for people to run red lights. So whether it's protected or protected permissive, or no matter what the movement, we want to make sure that our motorists can see and can make any movements they make safely. I think this one kind of speaks for itself. It has the highest benefit to cost ratio of any of the projects submitted. And that's just because it has such a huge impact on improving safety for a very, very reasonable cost. So I think this one pretty much speaks for itself, but I would entertain any questions that any committee members may have on this project.
Thank you, Brandon. Any questions from committee members? All right, with that, we'll move on to the first Phoenix project. Carl, are you going to be providing this presentation, or is there another member of your staff?
I am providing the presentation.
Okay.
All right, MAG staff and members of the committee, thank you for an opportunity to present our projects. Our first project is a upgrade of the existing signal at 27th Avenue and Camelback Road. So one of the unfortunate things in Phoenix is a lot of our signals are a little bit old. They've been around a long time. And at times that creates, especially when we try to add and enhance safety programs, it requires pretty much an entire rebuild of the signal. So this project comes from a RSA study that was evaluated previously, and one of the recommendations, well, several of the recommendations basically implemented a new signal needed. So specifically here, we're looking to improve the signal head visibility. There's not enough signal heads across the lanes, installation of flashing yellow arrows, and then also because the crosswalks are so wide for the streets here that we install additional illumination than what's out there now to illuminate the crosswalks the entire way. So with that, another item to note, this project is in a section of town that is fairly heavy. Most of our roads have quite a bit of traffic, so there's about 62,000 vehicles a day that travel through here. Surprisingly enough, this is actually one of the locations where it's relatively high zero-car households. There's about 40% zero-car households, and also about 51% in the area that live in poverty. So it is one of the sections that we do see a fair amount of people walking about using the signal as well. So the intent with the project is to provide greater visibility and compliance to the signal. Flashing yellow arrows, one of the things we're implementing is that if we see specifically a crash pattern during peak hours, we'll operate it where it's a protected only during that time frame, and then can provide the protected permissive flashing yellow benefit on the off time frames in the area. Let's see, overall, there has been 10 pedestrian bicycle collisions in this area, including one fatal, unfortunately. And I think that's all I really have to add about this project specifically at this time. So any questions from any members of the committee on this project? Okay, seeing none, can we move to the next project, Margaret?
There you go.
This project here is also another signal rebuild. Also, this project came from a previous road safety assessment that was had out here previously, as it is one of our top signals of concern within the city. Again, it's basically about the same items here. There is unfortunately just one single head over the traffic lanes on each direction at this intersection. And so therefore we need to rebuild the entire signal to improve the safety of it. So again, we're looking at signal head visibility, flashing yellow arrow to be installed, and illumination for the crosswalks as well. This location here, like most of our signals, we've got about 68,000 ADT throughout the project. This is a little bit lower of a crash rate overall compared to some of ours, but still benefit cost ratio is 5 to 1, relatively high. A big item is the left turn collisions. You can see here we actually have 30 left turn angle collisions through this intersection that will be addressed by the improvement of the signal at this location. So I do know that we had one question. Somebody said, does it already have flashing yellow? It does not. It has what we call a quad signal, which allows the protected permissive phases for the left turns at this location. And that's what we have for this location. Any questions from committee members specifically about this one? Okay, hearing none, can we move to the third project? This location, sorry, the top there is actually wrong. This is the signal at 67th Avenue and Thomas Road. Actually, I think the picture is slightly wrong on that one as well. Apologize for that. But pretty much, unfortunately, most of ours are fairly similar in story. Again, this is from a road safety assessment that happened past couple of years. And one of the several of the recommendations deal with having to improve the signal here. Again, we're looking at a signal rebuild complete to improve the signal head visibility, add more signals over the lanes directly, installation of your flashing yellow arrow, and also enhanced illumination for the crosswalks as they are so wide. This location here does have benefit cost ratio of 12-1. We have quite a few collisions in the area. Unfortunately, through everything, with a lot of traffic, this one actually has more traffic than our other ones. We're at about 73,000 ADT throughout. One of the interesting facts of this location, we have a very high percentage of minority at 80% and 40% that live in below the poverty line in this location. But amazingly, a lot more cars than compared to our other one. Again, here we have a fairly high pedestrian and bicycle collision factor at this location at 8 for the time frame here of the collisions last 5 years. So that's about it for this location. Any specific questions from committee members?
Carl, I just wanted to quickly ask you, although the graphic and the title is incorrect, is pretty much all the information on the bullets consistent with the 67th and Thomas Road?
That is correct. All the other information is consistent with the 67th Thomas. It's just the graphic and the title.
Okay.
Say, Carl, this is Shane, City of AJ.
Yes, Shane.
Yeah, I guess this question applies to all his intersections. What about ADA improvements? Your ramps are probably compliant, but I just wonder if anything else with the signal having to do with ADA compliance.
So part of the upgrade, we would end up upgrading all of the ramps themselves. The ramps probably are compliant to older standards compared to the updated new standards. And so that would be a component. One of the reasons our costs tend to be a little bit high, we do have to redo a fair amount of concrete work when we do signals. Also, whenever we retouch any signals today, we put in the pedestrian, the PBS buttons. I'm trying to remember what they're called directly. Anyways, the activated pedestrian, the enhanced ones with the vibration and the noise aspects to improve for ADA compliance throughout.
The ADP? Any other questions? All right, let's see if we can actually, was that the final, the third?
Yes,
Carl?
third project.
Okay, okay,
So
sorry
that's
about
all
that.
the projects for Phoenix.
Okay, thank you. So next up we have the City of Scottsdale. And before I switch to the slide, well, I'll go ahead and switch to the slide, but you might want to give some background on your request, Sam, if you could.
Okay, on this one or on the next one? I think the change.
I guess it would be the next one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll present this one and then. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you, Margaret, members of the committee. So this project is for the design or the construction of a pedestrian hybrid beacon, the Hawk, at the intersection of Thomas and 86th Street. We've got a crash rate of 0.4 million entering vehicles, so not really high, but higher than we'd want for what is out there right now, which is a two-way stop controlled intersection. On the intersection total had 19 crashes during the study period. The volume on Thomas Road is 30,000 vehicles per day. Another big factor that drove this request was on the northwest corner, there's currently a church, but it was recently redeveloped to become a school as well. So we've got a lot of new school traffic in that area. Additionally, on the northeast corner, there's a pretty heavily used park, recreation facility up there. And then on the south side of Thomas Road, there's a large community of single family houses. And probably for the better part of the last 10 years, we've been getting requests from the community to the south for a crossing of some type at this location. We've also recently done a local agency safety study with MAG, and we studied this location. We did observe a number of pedestrians crossing here to go to the park. And the study ultimately recommended the installation of a pedestrian hybrid beacon. And additionally, we've also had one serious pedestrian injury from someone crossing south to north at this location. And we can go to the next one.
Okay,
Unless
are
there's
there
any
any,
questions.
yeah, are there any questions on this from committee members? All right.
So Margaret, do you want me to present this one or the amended one? Margaret?
Okay, so which was the amended?
It was this one. So I can just present this slide. I think you had a hidden slide that was the amended with the application amendments.
Okay, I would go ahead and just present to the committee that you amended your application and request that they consider this change to your application.
Okay, yeah. So the initial application here was for a traffic signal at the intersection of Camelback and Saddleback Trail. It's that sort of mid-block location in the area, a little bit to the right side of the picture. We've been getting a lot of requests from our police department. This is on the north side of what we call our entertainment district in the Old Town area of Scottsdale. And so on the south side of Camelback Road, there are a lot of bars and clubs and different things like that. So on the weekends, we get a lot of rideshare activity and people dropping people off various different parts along the road on Camelback Road. And what it results in is a lot of mid-block crossings in this location. And we've had a crash history. We've had a fatal crash during the study period, and a number of injury crashes, all pedestrian related. And initially we were considering installation of a traffic signal because of the location to the existing signal just west of there at Buckboard. It's about 450 feet. We had some concerns about the signal timing and the amount of activations the pedestrian hybrid beacon might get if we put one there. Also, we had been talking for a long time about reversing the direction of one-way traffic on Saddleback Trail. Currently, it's southbound only. That ended up changing just recently. We were talking about reversing it now because of a new development coming in. We are going to leave it as it is. And with that, it doesn't have the vehicle traffic that we initially added to our signal warrant study. And so that was the big change that made us change from installing a signal to what we're now proposing as a pedestrian hybrid beacon. It does increase the benefit cost ratio a bit because for the signal, we were using a traffic signal crash modification factor for addressing angle collisions, I believe. And then we changed it to the pedestrian hybrid beacon crash modification factor for addressing pedestrian crashes in that location.
All right, Sam, it looks like I'm going to go ahead and try to trying not to stop share because I don't know. So that slide in particular was I'm going to unhide. So let me unhide this. Okay. So are you seeing the correct one
Yes.
on the screen now?
Yeah, I am. Thank you. Yeah, so as you can see, it increases the benefit cost ratio, and the cost estimate went down slightly. And I will mention there was a comment on the two pedestrian hybrid beacons that they seemed a little bit high. These were from estimates that we've had from our JOC for past pedestrian hybrid beacons that were similar in scope to these. We don't have a signal crew that can design it or construct these in-house, so we do have to pay a little bit extra, it seems, for the contractor to do these. But yes, this is the updated request amount and benefit cost ratio.
Okay. So the cities, and this is Margaret, Mr. Chair, if I may, in the interim, after developing and submitting their application, they came across some additional analysis that they had run. And so they had notified us, but at the time, it wouldn't have been appropriate for us to accept a new application. However, the location doesn't change. The amount of crashes doesn't necessarily change. So it would be up to the committee to, I can't speak for everybody that performed an evaluation on this, but a lot of our evaluation criteria are based on location and the specific crash characteristics of the location. And so since those things didn't change, we're really, or the city of Scottsdale is just requesting a change in the actual countermeasure that's being considered in their application. So. Any questions of Scottsdale regarding this application or of MAG in the process that was used? Okay.
All right, so this is our final one here. So this application is for a traffic signal at the intersection of Scottsdale Road and First Avenue. It is currently just a two-way stop controlled intersection with free flow traffic on Scottsdale Road, stop control on First Avenue. It is just about 350 feet south of the intersection of Indian School and in Scottsdale Road, and 350 feet north of the intersection of Main Street and Scottsdale Road, both of which are signalized intersections. And then another 350 feet south of Main is, I believe it's 2nd Street, which is also a signalized intersection. So this is the only location in a series of several signalized intersections that is not signalized. And when you look at it on an aerial, it has the same characteristics of those other intersections. We've been getting requests here for a long time as well for something to be done about pedestrian crossings in this location. During the peak hours, there can be anywhere between 100 and 200 people crossing east-west across Scottsdale Road in this location. Additionally, the traffic volume at this intersection is 26,000 vehicles. And we've also had a number of different crashes related to pedestrian activity at this location. There's been 2 related to left turns from First Avenue, where they collided with pedestrians in the east-west crosswalks. And there's also been 2 rear end crashes that were caused because a vehicle going southbound didn't see a pedestrian until the last moment. They had to stop instantly and then were rear-ended. Another unique factor here is north of this location, the speed limit on Scottsdale Road is 35 miles per hour. And then just as you get south of Indian School, it becomes 25 miles an hour. So the traffic coming southbound is usually a lot faster than traffic coming northbound. So we did see a trend in southbound rear end collisions and collisions related to southbound traffic. It does meet the signal warrants 1 and 2 with traffic volume. And yeah, I think that's all I got for that one.
Okay, any questions from committee members for the city of Scottsdale? This is the final presentation. Okay. So we're going to use the same process, although Mohammed, you might want to chime in. Is this something that you think that we can do in 20 minutes instead of 30?
Yeah, sure. Can do it. Yeah.
This spreadsheet is a little less complicated than the Safe Routes to School the spreadsheet was. So again, if you are amending your evaluation sheet, if you could please send that to Mohammed at the email address that's listed here. In addition, if you are not changing your scores, could you also let Mohammed know that that's the case?
Margaret, Mr. Chair and the committee member, just a quick question. So regarding the Scottsdale second application, are we gonna be considering the modified one or are we considering the initial one?
Hearing no objection to the committee considering the second application, that is key to know because we would want to have the correct information in the spreadsheet for the tabulation. So just to make sure, I didn't hear any objection to that from committee members, but let's just make sure before we go to break. If committee members, you want to chime in if there's any objection to the amended application from the city of Scottsdale.
I'll speak up since no one else is. I have no objection to the amended application. However, I just wanted to verify when I submit my my revised sheet, it is going to have the outdated information. So I just wanted to verify Mohammed's just going to take our base numbers and apply them into.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Yeah. From my perspective, no objections.
Thank you, Brandon. All right, so with that, it is 11:40 right now. Let's reconvene at noon and we can wrap up. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is Margaret. I am still waiting for Mohammed to send me the spreadsheet. We did have a couple of members drop off. However, it seems that since I last counted, we are back up to 11 committee members, which means we still have quorum. I also want to apologize. It looks like we have Alan Heathcote from the city of Glendale. For Tony Abo, I didn't recognize how your name shows up here in the participants list. So feel free to, as proxy for Mr. Abo, feel free to chime in a vote for this next action item, should you consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, are you back?
I am here, yes.
Okay, and can you confirm that you can see the screen with the roadway safety program list of projects?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Okay.
Hey, Margaret, if you could close the bar at the top, we might be able to see a bit more of the screen overall.
I am not showing any bar at the top of my screen.
No, I'm saying the bar of your I forget what it's called now. your notes and whatnot, or the toolbar. There's a button with a little arrow right on the far right of the screen. Up.
Just beside your name, Margaret.
This?
Just right on the Margaret Herrera name, upward arrow to.
It's being blocked by the, hold on just a second.
Thank you. That was it.
Sorry about that. Okay. Let me see if I can't. There we go. Now I think it shows everything. Or am I still missing a Peoria? No, that's it, right? Okay, so we have 1.892. If I collect the first 6, okay, so now that I've done that, I can't see the bottom of my, I'll just do this once. We have 2.16. And Patrick, if I just eliminate.
Margaret, this is Muhammad. So the sum you just did, that includes the
Was through 5.
local match also.
Oh, it does include local match?
Yes, you need to do the column.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so it's RSP funding. Projects 1 through 6, we have 1.95303. Now, again, as I was gonna do, if I take out number 6, we are underfunded by quite a bit. So Patrick, can you chime in on what our option is here?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Margaret, hi. At this point, given the delta, I would prefer to probably say I think we can cover projects 1 through 6 versus going 1 through 5 and having such a sizable gap.
Okay. So this is our funding line here. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion by committee members? Okay. Thank you, Patrick. And for some reason, okay, let's make it back to the presentation slides here. Okay. I apologize, the presentation slide is not showing up on my screen. So for right now, I'm going to close. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to finish up.
Very good. Thank you, Margaret. So at this time, we've reviewed the RSP programming. We've determined that the top 6 can be funded at this time. So a potential motion is to recommend approval of the list, which would be the top 6 of projects to be funded with the available MAG RSP funds in fiscal year 2022. Are there any questions or further discussion by any committee members that anybody wants to make at this time? Seeing none, could I have a motion to recommend approval?
So moved. Brandon Forey, City of Peoria.
Thank you, Brandon, for the motion. Do we happen to have a second?
John, City of Buckeye.
Thank you, John. So with that, we need to do a roll call for member votes on the motion. Margaret, could you please process the roll call?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shane Kiso.
Yay.
Tom Peterson.
Yay.
John Willett.
Yay.
Nick Russo.
Yay.
Aaron Pinkerton.
Yay.
Alan Heathcote.
Yay.
Matthew Reeg.
Yay.
Mazen rang off. How about Brandon Forey?
Yay.
Carl Langford.
Yay.
Kathy Borges.
Yay.
Mohammed Youssef.
Yay.
Sam Taylor.
Yay.
Dana Ossiani.
Yay.
Kathy Hollow.
Yay.
And that is it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Seeing with that, the motion does pass. Thank you all for your information and participation in this portion of our meeting today. With that, item number 7 is reports by committee members. Due to interest of time, I will just say, does anybody have something they really would like to share? Otherwise, we can skip this item at this point. Okay, not hearing any. We'll move to item number 8, which is request for future agenda items. Do any members of the safety committee have any topics or issues you would like to bring up as future agenda items?
Town of Gilbert here. We're currently looking at trying to figure a way of how do you phrase it? Looking at the cost that developers need to pay for traffic signals, kind of thing. And curious if anything, whether it's a future agenda item or just input from the other municipalities, if you have a process, a procedure, that it's reputable and repeatable. That's what we're trying to wrap our mind around, how to do it. That it's, so we're out doing these safety improvements or giving these signals when they're warranted, but how do we go about that and being consistent on that? So that's something that feel free to reach out to me outside of the meeting, or if it goes on the agenda.
Thank you, Erin. I'll coordinate with you. If we feel like we can just send out an email to committee members, we'll certainly do that. I thought I remember the city of Peoria, or it may have been the town or city of Glendale, recently had a discussion regarding this as well, but it may have been at the MAG ITID, but regardless, we'll coordinate something.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Next item is our next meeting will be of the Transportation Safety Committee will be held at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, January 26th. It is still planned. This will be a virtual meeting conference unless otherwise noted, but seeing as how things go, plan on virtual at the moment. With that, we can adjourn the meeting unless anybody has any other comments or items they need to bring forward. Thank you all for attendance.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Great job, Margaret. Thank you.
Thank you.